This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
CBD is a game changer sweeping the nation. This hemp extract is the natural way to elevate your mood, eliminate aches and pains, reduce anxiety, and keep you sleeping all night long. It can even cut your workout recovery time in half. Get in the game today with 20% off all orders of CBD and lavender products from Lavender Lane, a lavender farm located right here in Milan, Michigan. Just go to lavenderlanemi.com today and enter coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order. Guys, look, these amazing products are infused with calming lavender to maximize their effectiveness, meaning your CBD items only take minutes to take effect, which is way quicker than those pills you were about to swallow. On top of it, they are perfect for men and women. Lavender Lane has lab-tested CBD creams, tinctures, and roll-ons that are perfect for any situation, even if you're on the go. Put your health back in your hands by heading over to lavenderlanemi.com and entering coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order of CBD and lavender products. What do you have to lose? Your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back. So if you need lavender gifts for your loved ones or just looking for the natural way to ease your discomfort with CBD, go to lavenderlanemi.com and use coupon code Detroit to unlock these miraculous benefits of CBD and lavender. That's lavenderlanemi.com. And remember, use coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your CBD and lavender products from Michigan's own Lavender Lane.
I was trying to get it out here. I want them dead presidents. I want to pull up, head spin, get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. Get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired. Full-time artist, ex-guard, he said grind harder, learn from every time you ever fail. If it never failed, just grind smarter. Iron sharpen, you the dag on they hand.
Welcome, everybody, to the weekend. You've just downloaded the latest episode of Two Bad Hombres. I'm the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me on this Saturday morning, Vito Churko. What's up, my friend?
I'm doing well, and you know what? I'm hoping for a Michigan victory, which we can hope and pray, but it does not mean it's going to happen, even at home in Ann Arbor this afternoon.
Are Michigan fans feeling the pressure? Because I think there are some advantages that Michigan has, but I don't know if you saw that College Game Day poll where they put out on ESPN wondering which college team was the most disappointing, and by and large, an overwhelming margin, Michigan fans voted. I think it was like 40,000 votes. People felt that Michigan was the team that has struggled the most this year. I was kind of surprised by that. That's a lot of votes.
Well, they have, because you should have played a lot closer against Wisconsin. Middle Tennessee didn't look the greatest in week 1. Against Army, you should have lost the game. They should have 2 losses already, John. And one of them at home into Army of all teams. And then you get blown out. Absolutely thrashed against Wisconsin and Jonathan Taylor. And when Wisconsin as a whole, you go down 35-0 before you score a point. So it's been embarrassing to a large degree for Harbaugh and company in Ann Arbor thus far this season. Need to win big time today. On Saturday against Iowa. If Michigan does not record a victory, I think Harbaugh's fried. The season's over, and Harbaugh is definitely fried.
Wow. Not a lot of confidence from you, Vito. That's interesting stuff. I know that some Michigan fans and alum are really unhappy, but at the end of the day, really, you got to just try and get better in certain areas. You got to have better play from the quarterback. And I do think that Jim Harbaugh has to find something that's going to just really be that rallying cry, because I'm not so certain, and I think we can start the podcast by just talking about it. Something's up with Jim Harbaugh. He doesn't seem to be the same coach. Something's up, and I don't know if, maybe he just is not willing to adapt to 2019, if he just is really just trying to be really stubborn with the offense. I don't know. Something's different, but I just think that the Michigan program doesn't seem to be as innovative as you would think it would be in 2019. Am I right?
Well, in year number 5, you would have thought more, would have had a better quarterback, more of that, elite passer, mobile, dual threat guy that can throw it on the field with accuracy and can make passes in a very accurate fashion. Well, Steve Patterson hasn't been that guy thus far this year. And I know against Rutgers, okay, they blew out Rutgers and they ended up getting Rutgers head coach fired because of how much they blew Rutgers out. But come on, man. It's Rutgers. Lowly Rutgers. How much stock do you put into that game? I don't put much at all. Really, little to none. So you put into that outcome. So you look at that game, Shea was good, a lot better than he was against Wisconsin. He was banged up and took hits left and right because of that porous O-line. Well, the O-line and everybody, all facets of the team, all facets possible, look better against Rutgers. So Michigan improved. But now you go into a much tougher matchup this week against Iowa. So forget about what you did against Rutgers. Forget about that outcome and how well you looked, because this is your real big test at home this season, to start off the season, obviously.
With Jim Harbaugh, do you think he can make those changes? Is he willing to maybe just give full control to Josh Gaddis? Is he somebody that's going to, at some point, maybe go to the defensive coordinator and say, look, we got to do a little bit more, be a little bit more aggressive, or we got to figure out ways to stop these big teams? It just seems like change has to happen because, look, unfortunately, when you start comparing teams, naturally speaking, Vito, everyone's looking in the Big Ten at what Ohio State's doing. And they obviously went from Urban Meyer to Ryan Day. And some people are even arguing that Ryan Day could be even better than Urban Meyer. Now, the test against Michigan State will definitely be one in which we can see how Ryan Day adjusts to, a defensive coach. But early on, that transition was seamless. There was nothing to it. You got in your quarterback, you got a system, and they're guns a-blazing. They're winning by 40 points plus. So that's what people are looking at. And you look at Michigan, and you're struggling against Army. You're struggling against teams that you think you should be better than. And it just looks like that Michigan has this attitude of, okay, our system's going to work. We just got to go out there and put the players in that position. Going out there and getting Shea Patterson, many people would have thought he would have did better, but it just hasn't happened. And I do think that Michigan has to take a serious look at everything. And it's a tough situation because a lot of people right now are not happy with the program. They're not happy with Jim Harbaugh. What might turn it around? Is it a decisive victory versus Michigan State? Is it finally defeating Ohio State in a real game? Or is it, now defeat Iowa, defeat Notre Dame, play Penn State super strong, and just win as many games as humanly possible before the Ohio State game?
Well, I think you have to beat both Michigan State and Ohio State. But also, in so many words, win as many games as you just said before that OSU game, which is at home this year, and okay, should favor Michigan a little bit, but Ohio State is playing out of its mind and looking like a game leader and a top team in the entire nation. I think right now, for sure, a definitive, prohibitive favorite to make the Final Four this season. And Ryan Day is so darn innovative that I really believe they might have upgraded over Urban Meyer, who lost some love and passion for coaching. And he missed, I believe, the first 3 games last year when Day was the interim head man at Ohio State. And the players supposedly warmed up to Day hugely. And actually, they did not like it when Meyer took over the sidelines. So they loved Day. They embraced him. They've embraced his innovativeness, his creativity. And there's so much more of that innovativeness and creativity at Ohio State, the arch nemesis of Michigan, that Michigan possesses. And Josh Gaddis, he hasn't improved this offensive attack yet of Michigan. And once again, I know they look great against Rutgers, but it was lowly Rutgers. I mean, their coach just got fired. But who's going to go into Rutgers and really resurrect that program? I mean, they're abysmal. They shouldn't even be in the Big Ten. I wish it was like soccer in those soccer leagues that demote teams to lesser leagues eventually after the team struggled in the league for so long. Rutgers, because that should be a MAC team by now. But anyways, I digress, and to get back to my point, I think Michigan has to beat these big boys if they want to resurrect their reputation. I think they have to beat these big boys coming up, but it definitely starts this afternoon against Iowa. And that's why I believe, and I said it, by the way, little plug here for Sundays with Dominic and Vito. I don't know if you listened to it. Dominic's name is before mine. I know that surprises a lot of people knowing my big head here. But I said Iowa, this game this afternoon, is a program-defining game for Jim Harbaugh. If he doesn't win this game, John, start thinking about all the losses that could pile up this season. I got to believe they're losing 3 out of the following 4 games. They lose to Iowa today. They're going to lose to Ohio State, Michigan State, Notre Dame, Penn State. 3 of those 4 games, they're going to lose if they lose today against Iowa, which means then you're a 5-loss team. You're a 6-loss team, maybe even. I mean, that's really bad for Michigan football, as you know, John.
Yeah, tough times, man. And you look over at East Lansing, tough game versus Ohio State. It's going to be a tough one to keep it close. College football definitely is interesting at this point in time, but we got to talk about it. Probably the biggest news in the world of college athletics. I want to get your sense of it. I think I know how you're going to stand on this, but it was announced earlier this week that California signed into law a plan that says in a couple years, college athletes can now benefit from their likeness. They can go out and if they can get endorsements or they can go out and sign, autographs and things like that, it can happen. And so now as a result of this landmark signing from California, other states are doing the same thing. It bans the NCAA from, not letting these kids benefit financially from their likeness. And this all stems from the Ed O'Bannon college basketball video. I believe that what had happened was, for those that don't know, Ed O'Bannon was discovering that, even 20 years after he had stopped playing college basketball, he looked on a video game and there was his likeness in a video game. And he said, wait a minute, they can use my likeness forever, even 20 years later. And he went and he sued and he won. And, you don't get to use someone's likeness in perpetuity. And so that kind of opened the door, paved the way for now California to make this law into place. Are you for it or against it? Because I think it opens a can of worms because of the fact now that maybe some will get endorsements, some not. I'm not so certain yet. I'm going to hear you out, and then I'll discuss with you what I think in regards to this landmark law from California.
So California Governor Gavin Newsom that is, signed this bill allowing student athletes to get paid in the state of California and on LeBron James's the shop. So, God, that's big news right there, John. I mean, if you support LeBron, you're supporting this governor and him signing this bill into law to allow student athletes in the state of California once again to get paid. Now, I don't know all the specifics of this bill, and I bet more details will come out as time goes on here, John. But I support it because I support the initiative of college athletes being paid. And now there are stipulations to it. I think there would be tiers to this as well, or at least should be, if the NCAA ever actually gets smart and passes something as an entity, which I think it should, for all of collegiate athletics. And one of the stipulations I think should be that these, higher-end athletes, these guys that really bring the revenue to their programs, should get a bigger piece of the pot. And these guys, such as the Johnny Manziels of the world in the past at Texas A&M that was making so darn money because of his likeness at A&M, he's a guy that should go out and be able to sign autographs. For those seeking his autographs, if there are people, the fans out there seeking autographs from individuals, those individuals that do have that demand should be allowed to sign autographs and to profit off of those autographs. So that's one of the major stipulations I would make, which would, I think, allow for the NCAA not to have these athletes just run rampant and to make a ton of money without the NCAA having a little bit of a hand in the pot still. And they're a multi-billion-dollar business entity. So they're doing more than fine and will still continue to do fine. And you look at these coaches and how much they make per year, right? How much money they make. And they're allowed to go from school to school, and it's no big deal. So these players, I believe, should be compensated. And sure, not everybody will receive as much or will maybe get paid. And that's because, once again, like I said, my stipulation, and one of the biggest ones should be that if you as an athlete, if you are in demand, and more than likely it'll be because you play basketball or football, the two highest revenue producing programs from university to university, well, then you have the right to profitize off of your name by going out there and signing autographs for those that are seeking your autograph.
Yeah, it's just tough because there's so many question marks that arise as a result of this, in that you wonder, okay, now will other states then adopt this? Will there be a reply from the NCAA? What will happen as a result of this in regards to, team dynamics? Will some guys get jealous of other guys that are doing it? It's just, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work out. I just kind of want to see, and luckily it's not going to take shape right away. It has to kind of, go in, and it's going to take place, I think, in the 2022-2023 situation. So I'm okay with this happening, but I just don't know exactly. I'm a little bit nervous of some nefarious things that could happen as a result.
But we know there has been nefarious activity, right? Nefarious illegal activity behind the scenes in which these guys have been committing violations left and right because they're getting paid. So what's happening in college athletics as a whole. So why not just allow these players to be paid that? And then especially, once again, one of my major stipulations is, and John, I'll ask you this. If you were an athlete, a Johnny Manziel, Tim Tebow type of athlete that was just bringing in tons of revenue for your respective program, and you knew about it. I mean, God, these guys are smart enough to realize they're bringing in tons of money, and they're truly cash cows for their universities. And really, they should be almost the highest revenue-producing employees of their universities. Well, so if you were one of those dudes, John, wouldn't you like to have the opportunity to go out and sign autographs because people are seeking your autograph and then to be able to make money off of your autograph? And how about that? If you were an athlete that was a Cam Newton, a Johnny Manziel, Tim Tebow, bringing in tons of money for your university, wouldn't you want the ability to go out and sign autographs and make some money off of your autograph? Something of that sort?
Yeah, I think, that's where we're headed. That's what people want because of the fact that, hey, some of these young athletes come from tough situations, and it's something that I do think, had to happen, and I'm kind of surprised in 2019 it took this long, but it's just, see, Vito, the tough part is that, okay, now what level of endorsement are people going to get? Are you going to have somebody that's, because I look at it like this, let's say you have a top-end quarterback in college, let's say a Trevor Lawrence from Clemson, and this guy, throughout the college season can go every single Saturday. Let's say he makes $2-3 million in college. Does that affect his motivation going forward? You give a kid that much money. Now, do you open up a can of worms because 19-year-olds making $2 million while ideally it sounds good, or let's just say maybe $300K. Let's just say over the course of a college football season, he has $300K in his pocket. Don't you think that potentially opens the door then for this young athlete to make some purchases or to do some things that he's not supposed to be doing? So at the same time, we also got to think long term in terms of maybe some of the decisions that are made, is that yes, you can potentially go out and sign your name and make some money, but maybe there's got to be some responsibility and someone looking over where this money is going to, so that maybe potentially 3/4 of it is put away in a trust, and that maybe it is regulated, to a point where, and for me, I'm not a guy that's really big into regulation, but maybe it can be regulated where, okay, fine, all the money can be generated, but he can't have access to it until he's 21, because, you don't want to start ruining the lives of these youths by some decisions that they're making, especially, when you start giving people money, they definitely can find ways to spend it. So maybe a little bit of extra care given to those that are signing their name and getting this money, because you can't just say, yeah, go ahead and make $2 million and go about your business. It just doesn't work like that. These are 19-year-olds. They're going to go out there and, buy cars, and, could you imagine? Shea Patterson, goes out there, signs his name, got $400K. All of a sudden, we start seeing, a mispractice, and there's that boat photo, similar to Odell Beckham. He's out there just, partying with, and then look, there's Vito. Vito's on the boat party.
I'd be on the boat, baby. I'd be on the boat. Okay, but okay, here's my counterpoint to you. So we have adults that are stupid too. They make hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars, and spend their money stupidly, lavishly on stupid items and stuff they shouldn't be spending their money on. So watching these college athletes also have the right to spend their money on whatever they choose, no matter if it's stupid or not. So I'm almost saying and advocating for stupidity. I mean, are we allowed to be stupid a little bit and spend, some money on something that maybe isn't necessary but that we want? Come on, John, how about that as well? And I get they're student athletes, and we want to teach them financially savvy principles and all that good stuff. But they are people too, and they're young adults becoming full-fledged adults in this world, and they've got to live and learn. And maybe they learn as well from spending their money lavishly, and they learn how to spend their money correctly by spending their money so stupidly while in college.
Do you think Michigan will adopt this soon?
I'm going to say no. I think California is always ahead of the curve with a lot of stuff. It's a very liberal state, I know. So I don't think Michigan ends up passing this, or many other states end up passing this, because I think it'll take the NCAA to pass something first. Because to take on the NCAA, a multi-billion-dollar business head on, a lot of states just aren't going to be willing to do that. I mean, don't you agree with that too? It's just too scary for these states to do it, and too big of a risk, I guess, as well at the end of the day.
Great topic, man. I know the college football world is definitely going to be paying attention to California. Well, I guess before we go to break, I'll say this. Do you think more athletes are going to be heading to California that might be top-end talent? Or will all states by then, in the next 3 years, probably have this law in place? I think because of the fact that now one has done it, I do believe the domino has fallen and many more states will adopt this so it doesn't make it a competitive disadvantage for a state like Michigan.
See, I don't think many more will adopt. I don't think Michigan will. Maybe some of these other liberal, per se, states will do so, will follow suit with California. Like in California, a lot of times is out of the curve. So I don't really see a lot of other states adopting this policy or getting this legislation passed. And because of that, I think, you're going to see some kids end up going to California, but still the opportunities have to be there. There still have to be scholarships offered to these kids, right? To go all the way out to California where the cost of living is so darn high.
All right, let's take our first time out. We'll come back. Second half of the podcast, we'll review the Tigers and Lions and things like that. Maybe check in with Vito and his personal life, see what's going on there. You're listening to Two Bad Hombres on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Yeah, we coming now. Come on. Yeah, that's right. We put it down. It's like a family in here, just a little disabled. Putting it down, we lay them out on the table. Yeah. Who's in the house? The brothers in the house. Gotta turn it on out, let you know what we about. Kinda like Cain and Abel, a bit unstable. Don't be breaking the brain, break the whole damn table.
All right, welcome back in our remaining moments. Oh, man, the Tiger season mercifully ended. We air a Tigers Talk podcast each and every Wednesday. Oh, man, Vito, the baseball playoffs have been quite interesting. Oh, man, the Tigers, unfortunately, did not end the season well. It was a brutal season, and I think you and I both feel like, thank goodness, that season ended. It was tough to cover, and when you look at the Detroit Tigers, they're in the midst of a rebuild, and the toughest part is many people don't even think it's the worst. Next year could be even worse. It's a tough time if you're a baseball fan in Detroit, but mercifully it ended.
Well, good God. I mean, it was epically bad. We've talked about it before ad nauseum, so not to go on extensively here. But 59 losses at home. In your home ballpark, with your home fans in attendance, which there weren't many of them, and rightfully so, for how epically bad the Tigers were all season long. But if you end up being that bad at home again, think about the attendance numbers and how much lower they will get. And they really can't get much lower because they were epically bad anyways, the attendance numbers from start to finish this season. So the Tigers are bound for another bad year in 2020. And could it get worse in the loss column? I'm going to say no. But still, could it be north of 100 losses the Tigers accumulate a season from now? Yes.
Okay. Are you interested at all in anything going on with the Pistons and Wings? They're starting up. The Wings season starts tonight. The Pistons had training camp, and media day was interesting. Not too much. I mean, it was a lot of kind of just talk about, the building of the team. I do believe Dwayne Casey is honest and a realistic man. He said, look, right now we're in a building phase. We're trying to, figure stuff out. And then at the same time, Mr. Goris has never said no in that, they're trying to build smart and things like that. But when you look at the Pistons roster, they just loaded up with a bunch of veterans to try and get through this year. So it was really fascinating. I'm not really, between you and I, Vito, I'm not really down too much with anything going on with the Pistons and Wings. I definitely, as you know, being now that we're part of SI, are definitely paying attention more to the Lions. But it just seems like with the Pistons and Wings, it's just another year where, the evaluation is just going to be on a couple talented individuals and then seeing if maybe they can make the playoffs or maybe make, a couple wins in the playoffs. That's about it. And it doesn't seem like there's a lot of spark and juice regarding the upcoming seasons of both of those squads.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. I didn't even know the hockey season started. That's the truth. I mean, that's how big of a Wings fan and a hockey fan that I am. And the opening night was the other night. I didn't even know that it was going on. And the Wings season opening, I didn't even know when it started. I knew they were coming up, too, because the NHL season opener just occurred, but I didn't know when the Wings were starting. And really, I don't care. I don't care about the Wings too much. I know one thing, though. I'll say this. They have a much better young core than the Pistons to build from for future seasons. So the Wings could become a playoff team this year. The Pistons could be a playoff team once again. Pistons, though, really, going with the unique identity or unique approach, though, with the veteran approach. Getting guys from the big three, such as Joe Johnson. Derrick Rose, who had a good season last year with the Minnesota Timberwolves, kind of resurrected his career. But a lot of vets And I don't know if you can classify them as aging, well, I guess, and I will do so with Joe Johnston. Derrick Rose to a certain extent. Blake Griffin came off a career year last year, and the team only won 41 games. What does it tell me and should tell all you guys about the Pistons this season? Well, they're going to struggle to get into the playoffs once again as even the 8th seed, in my opinion. And I really believe that Derrick Rose brings a nice veteran presence and a nice veteran touch that Reggie Jackson can't bring. And I think Rose would be more valuable in crunch time for the Pistons, with being able to score the basketball and just make smart decisions. But still, the Pistons overall-wise, best case scenario, I think, are what they were last year, maybe even a bit worse because of the East being better. They're a 6 seed, but probably a 7 or 8 seed at best. And I think they'll get in as an 8 seed and struggle maybe even more than a year ago to get in as the 8th seed. And not because their roster is worse off. I think it's actually been improved. But the East is better, and the Pistons still haven't taken that big of a step forward. Yeah,
exactly. And it's just tough because both squads, I do think they're moving in an upward direction, but at a snail's pace. And after watching the Pistons for over a decade not be relevant, and now the Wings, missing the postseason, I believe 3 years in a row, it's tough times, man. So you look at it and you say, you just got to kind of watch for individual storylines, see who progresses. Well, I guess you didn't hear, but the Red Wings are going to feature a line with nicknames, a line called Bert and Ernie.
Bert and Ernie.
Yes.
What do you think about that? Is that funny to you? I don't know. I guess it should be funny, right?
I think it's funny, but a lot of fans.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of disconnect happens, is that we're not going to be talking about a lot of competitiveness. We're going to be talking about stuff like that throughout the Red Wing season. But they have a chance. I mean, Dylan Larkin was bold. He did think that if they tried hard and they executed and, when he evaluates the talent, he does believe it's in the room that maybe they could make the playoffs. But I think Steve Yzerman kind of let on, and he said, look, this is going to be slow. Taper your expectations. He did the right thing by saying that, but we also got to remember the past, and that it's been a long time since the Wings have had success. Look, you don't even know any of the storylines. You don't even, it's not resonating towards you.
Nobody even cares. I mean, to become a niche sport even here in Hockey Town. I know it's called Hockey Town, the Motor City is, and we love our Red Wings. But hockey is very much a niche sport nationwide. I mean, I think it's 4th on the totem pole when you talk about the 4 major professional sports leagues as a whole throughout the nation. I think hockey is dead last. NBA number 3, or baseball is number 3, NBA 2, NFL number 1 for sure is number 1. It's the biggest cash cow too. But NHL, you know what? I think it's number 4, John. What do you think?
Yeah, it's tough. It's behind. I would go Lions, Tigers, Pistons, Wings. Pretty much, yeah.
And in the Motor City, yes. I mean, the Pistons are 3 for sure, and they've become a niche following. Because you know what? There's been no relevancy with the Pistons. I mean, even last year, do we really consider that a good season from the Pistons getting knocked out in the first round and swept by the Bucks? I don't think so, John.
Yeah, it's just a fascinating look in that you're trying to build, but you brought in like 3 aging veterans. You got Joe Johnson, you got Derrick Rose, now you got Blake Griffin, and you got a bunch of older cats trying to get in there, and you brought in Morris, so you're bringing in guys, but we want to see also what the development of the young cats is, and I think, Vito, the biggest argument with the Pistons is just play the young cats and lose and get the top 3 pick and see what happens. Play the young cats, see what happens. I don't think people are really impressed with the additions in free agency this year.
Taper something. Develop the young talent really quick. This just came up in my mind here about the Red Wings. Now, they've decided not to name the full-fledged captain once again, correct? Dylan Larkin is not going to be the full-fledged captain, and they're going to go with alternates such as Larkin. Is that true, or am I totally off base?
No, that's true.
That's true. So let me say this now. I don't get that. Why wouldn't Larkin be the captain right now? By now, John. Explain that to me, please.
Well, the idea is with naming a captain, it wants to be special, and you just don't want to hand it to Dylan Larkin. It's going to be him. You want him to earn it. You want him to, day in, day out, display what it takes to be a leader. And I do think that because people have told him, look, you're the next captain, that Steve Yzerman kind of wants to kind of observe everything. This year, Vito, for Steve Yzerman is an observation year for everybody, for all the players on the roster, the coaching staff, the organization. So he's coming in and just taking an overall look at what's going on, and he wants to, name a captain when it's special, and he wants to name it for somebody that he thinks will have it for a decade. And it's going to be Dylan Larkin, but Dylan Larkin has to show it too. You can't just play.
But he hasn't earned it yet? 'Cause I thought he earned it. I mean, I'm an outsider, not an avid follower.
No, he hasn't earned it yet in terms of, play on the ice. Obviously the second half of last year was a lot better, but Steve Yzerman wants to see him do it again this year. And I think for sure next year he'll get the captaincy, no doubt about it. Don't worry about it.
So Stevie Y bringing a Stanley Cup back to the Motor City. It's going to happen, right? I know everybody's expecting that now out of Stevie Y. That's why he's back here.
Yeah, it's probably going to be, a rebuild 3-4 years. So probably, not for 5-6 years do you think that they're going to be, on the cusp, because the rest of the league is pretty decent. So, yeah, it's going to take some time to build and things like that. So, it's not going to be in the first 3 years, that's for sure. So, again, Tigers, Pistons, Wings, maybe they're going to all rebuild together. Maybe we'll have this renaissance where all three teams build and reach the crescendo at the same time.
We'll become a city of champions once again, like back in 1935 it was. Yeah, I learned some Detroit Pro sports history at Detroit Mercy, courtesy of my professor Tom Stanton there. Great dude. Anyways, who's going to win the championship now next? Of these 4 teams, pro sports teams that we just talked about, I think it's the Lions. And of the collegiate teams, college football squad that we talked about in Michigan and Michigan State, I don't see either of them winning this year, or probably next year. I mean, so for this season specifically, of the 4 pro sports teams now, it's the Lions. Well, they're like 2-1-1 only. Well, they look good for the most part. I know a bad defeat last week at the hands of the Chiefs, 34-30. This week having a bye week, and we'll enjoy that, our week off from covering them. But I think the Lions are the team with the best chances of winning in the near future, John. You have a counterpoint to that, or is that what you think as well?
I just want to see the Red Wings put on a competitive product night in, night out. I mean, there were stretches there. I'm a guy that says, look, Dwayne Casey's good. Ron Gardenhire isn't. Jeff Blashill should be gone. I think that Matt Patricia is learning on the job and is progressing. But I think with the Red Wings and the Detroit Tigers, they could use an upgrade in coaching. And I think that would take them to the next step, because Jeff Blashill's fine, but he's not good enough in terms of the standards that the Wings have set, in my opinion.
So let's leave it with this. Michigan State predictions. U of M win, and then MSU.
Michigan wins, State loses, but they cover. They're not going to get blown out by 17 points. They'll probably lose by 10, 12, 12, 14.
I think they're going to get blown out. I think it'll be a blowout. And I really don't hope that to happen for Sparty, but I think you're going to be crying because it's going to be a blowout today.
Oh, there it is from Vito. You can follow Vito on Twitter at Vito Jerome. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. I've enjoyed recording this episode of Two Bad Hombres every single Saturday on the Detroit Sports Network. Listen to Vito's other podcast, Sundays with Dom and Vito, every single Sunday. Give me a quick preview.
Well, you know what? This week we're going to talk a lot of Michigan, Iowa football with Joey and Craig Oster. They've been on before, and they'll be back, and they're Michigan slappies, I would say, but also experts, and will critique Harbaugh and company how they do against Iowa on Saturday.
All right, see everybody next weekend. Enjoy your day.
Adios.